Hello again, welcome to another edition of CropLife Retail Week. Paul Schrimpf here with Eric Sfiligoj.
Hey Paul, looks like you're building a new sound studio there.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? Yeah, this is actually my attic. I could not escape from the noise or the commotion of the house, so I basically came up 3 flights to get to the top stairs. It's not pretty. It's something I got some plastic and sheets back here. My son used this kind of as a sound studio for his early recording days, which is long since gone away. But there's, it's an assortment of stuff that's left over from all the enthusiastic things he did with electronics over the years. I've got old laptops and keyboards stacked up, and an assortment of, he loved old analog stuff. So I've got this recorder that does old reel-to-reel audio or video playback thing. I got pads from his marching band days. And I have a model of the coronavirus here somewhere that we found down.
Nice.
With, stuffed animals. It's your typical attic.
Okay.
With empty nest kids. So
what you're saying is, other than recording the video with me today, you're getting nothing functional done for the day. Got it.
It's probably closer to the truth than I want to admit. But anyway, so what do we have today? Well, the one thing we noted earlier, technology-wise, this week was DTN purchasing the ag and weather side of Iteris, which is Clear Ag. DTN again accumulating more assets on the weather end. I think is it's interesting. I think it'd be great to see DTN continue to work on integration of these technologies and getting more of this stuff out to, getting it integrated, getting it into some of the things that they're doing tools wise, and hopefully we'll see some of that occurring. But the Iteris and Clear Ag, the Iteris technology that they come over from traffic and kind of the city, the Department of Transportation side, and some of the things that they did with traffic lights and and keeping traffic moving in cities, how they employed that technology was. Can you hear the siren?
Oh yeah.
There is literally no escape from any of this nonsense. What is this? My city's gone crazy. Anyway.
Okay. Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see what DTN does with this. But again, Clear Ag and Iteris had done some great things in in other industries and come onto ag and made some headway with technology. Now DTN hopefully takes it over and takes it another step farther. So it's good to see.
Yeah, well, now not quite along those lines, but I know some folks in the know probably are aware that our friends at GVM had been going through a bankruptcy along with Independent Ag, their distribution arm. And actually we found out this week that as of May 4th, which is a couple of days past, GVM and Independent Ag are going to be operating as one company again. GVM's distribution arm is going to be taking over what was Independent Ag operations in Missouri, Pennsylvania, Illinois, and Indiana. So I guess that's good news for the company coming back together. I know they had split back in the early 2000s for a couple of reasons, including what lines the companies were handling at the time. But as mergers have gone on, that reason for that split have disappeared, so now they're back to operating as a single entity.
Good deal. We hope for the best for GVM. I know they've gone through some tough times, but they've had a lot of loyalty in terms of equipment and equipment manufacturing and use among retailers. I mean, they've had tremendous retail equipment for a lot of years. So let's hope this helps them turn around and get the ship righted.
Yep. So a couple other things to share, these kind of follow up on things we've been talking about in the last couple of videos. Of course, we did talk a little bit about the fact that, the U.S.-China trade dispute was basically kind of over as we were going into 2020. It looked like they were going to be moving forward on that, but then I guess some nasty words have now gone back and forth regarding coronavirus and countries not letting people know it was around sooner, in their view. So basically, we've now got a little bit of a fight going on again, and maybe a threat of some future tariffs once again. But despite all that, Paul, good news for the soybean U.S. growers. China has purchased another 378,000 tons of soybeans to be delivered here in May. So if there's fear on China's part that more tariffs are in the future, they're not worried about it at the moment.
Yeah, we'll take any good news we can get. This has been really a heavy corn planting year so far based on projections. Those who plant soybeans, and we're talking to a lot of folks about soybean scouting right now, and for the next issue of CropLife, and people are pretty excited to talk about what's going on with soybeans and some of the tech advances there. So hopefully that all that work in the field will pay off.
Yeah, well, and thank you for the segue to corn plantings and plantings in general. I know we had noted a couple of videos ago that planting seemed to be behind the curve and only in the single digits for corn and soybean, but I did hear from a couple of friends of mine in Indiana and Illinois over the weekend, and it looks like that in those states, the planting is somewhere over 50% at this point, at this date in time here in early May. And that compares with only 19% planted acreage during 2019 when it basically rained and rained and rained. So far 2020 is shaping up as a little bit of better year. It's been a little cooler, but the rains have held off enough for the planters to be out in the field.
Let's hope so. I mean, we're looking here at Cleveland. I know we're looking at extended cold weather, and we've got so we're shooting this a little earlier in the week, but from Wednesday through probably the next a weekend past, another 10 days of 50 to 55 degrees, maybe 60 if we're lucky. And I know it's a trough that's kind of come down south into the kind of mid-Atlantic and into the Midwest, and we could use some heat, you know. I mean, maybe some point we'll regret asking for that down the road, but we could use some heat to get this thing moving.
Yeah, well, and then the other thing to talk about this week that I've got, Paul, is I know we've been talking a little bit about ethanol and all its troubles with basically no gasoline demand and shutdowns and lockdowns and stay-at-home orders. So there hasn't been much demand for ethanol. So about half the production we've seen in prior years is actually now in the marketplace. But we did get it from the USDA in early May. They actually approved $100 million in competitive grants and an effort to help the U.S. biofuels infrastructure along during these tough times. So some money access will be had for our friends in the ethanol market.
Well, let's just hope it's not a temporary Band-Aid. Let's hope this market finds a way to recover. Boy, it's it's not like things were good before, and and so hopefully, you know, we'll see some level of improvement down the road, but it's still going to be very difficult.
Yep. So that's about all I have, Paul. The only thing I need to add is if you're going to be in the attic next week, you need to put on some overalls and have a paintbrush and a couple of maybe I don't know, some goggles and one of those N95 masks on, so you're not breathing in the fumes if you're using a paint gun.
Now we can't be using up N95 masks for frivolous purposes. It's all for all the emergency workers and so forth only. But yeah, that could be entertaining. The other thing I was going to do, I was thinking about going outside next time, but I mean, like I said, I've got a neighbor like chainsawing a tree, got ambulances blowing by outside, and God knows what else is. It's like life in the city, you know. It's my nearest neighbor is about 10 feet across from me in a window, so it may never be possible, but maybe we'll try again next week. And it's freezing outside, so that's not good either. But is that it? That's all we got?
That's all we got.
All right, sir. Well, thanks for again joining us for another edition of CropLife Retail Week, and we will see you next week.
If you have questions or comments about today's episode of Retail Week, contact us by email or Twitter, or type your message in the comment section below.
Your feedback is important to us. We'll try our best to address your thoughts in next week's episode.
And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.